You might say I'm kind of a fan of this series, just putting that out there. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film Assassin's Creed. So this is the movie based on the game franchise, which I'm a huge fan of. If you paid attention to the thumbnail or the intro to this video, I played every main installment of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I'm a huge fan of this game and I really enjoy where it's at with Syndicate, and I hope that it continues doing good things with the series from here into the future. So this is the movie based on the game. Apparently it's in continuity to the games, which I found to be interesting. Our main premise of this film is that we have a guy named Callum Lynch, and we find him in the situation that we somewhat found Desmond Miles in the beginning of AC1, in that he's a very reluctant assassin. He is aware of his heritage, but he doesn't really want to embrace it that much, and doesn't really have the skills for it. When he is captured by Abstergo, which are a front for the Templars, we have a situation where he is put into the Animus and he has to relive the enemies of his ancestor from the Spanish Inquisition. And we have our film, essentially. Now, Michael Fassbender stars in this thing, and he does a really, really good job, I thought. I thought that he gave a very good performance in this movie because he just shows many different sides of this character. You see him when he's at his most vulnerable, when he's really pissed off, when you have him when he is just losing his mind or thinks he's losing his mind because he's experiencing the bleeding effect, and just all these different sides of this character come out in Fassbender's performance. I thought he just really captured the character and nailed this performance, in my opinion. Marion Cotillard is the scientist who's kind of basically running this Abstergo Animus project, and I really enjoyed her character because she had an essence of complexity to her. She wasn't just a black or white kind of bad Abstergo person like we've known from the video games. She has this complexity to her because she works for Abstergo. She works for the Templars, but her motivations are purely scientific and want to truly benefit mankind. And so for the first half of the movie or so, it had me at this kind of gray area where we have this Abstergo company, which we're only seeing through Marion Cotillard's eyes, and just seeing how, oh hey, we actually want to benefit society by eradicating violence, and the only way to do that is to eliminate free will. And I get that, and I get how that's a bad thing, but if you're gonna do it, somebody's got to control it. And so I kind of understood her side of the perspective, and so she's brought a really interesting essence to the character, I thought. And then we also have Jeremy Irons. He is her father and also the head of this Abstergo lab, and he is more of a black and white-esque character. He doesn't have as much complexity to him, and he didn't really do a whole lot in the film, so I felt like he was a little bit wasted, but I still enjoyed what he did for the character and his performance. Now, Spanish Inquisition, when we see 1492 Spain, it just looks fantastic. I don't really know how much of it is CGI, how much of it is practical effects. Whatever the combination is, it all looks fantastic and extremely realistic, from the get-ups of people to the assassin wardrobes to the blades. It all just very, very cool and very, very well done, in my opinion. That was my favorite part of the film, is being able to go into the Spanish Inquisition and just see what this place could have looked like back then, and probably what it did to some effect. And as this is Assassin's Creed, you know that there is going to be fighting and a lot of killing, and it definitely has that essence to it. It really captures, in my opinion, what it is to be an assassin, at least probably during this time period, with the wall running and the roof jumping and all these cool things, and especially the fluid fight sequences I thought were really, really neat with both Aguilar and his companion. They were both really, really cool, really badass people, and I enjoyed seeing them on screen. My issue with that part, though, is that there's basically no character development whatsoever for Aguilar's character. One of the fun parts of the game, at least in my opinion, is when we are in these time periods of the past, we get to really learn what makes these characters grow. One of the reasons that people fell in love with Ezio in the games is because we had 3 games to really get to know him, and we grew up with the character, essentially. We saw him from basically being born to a teenager to an adult and to an old man throughout 3 titles. I would have given it some credit if it even tried to give Aguilar some dialogue outside of like the major plot points that we see throughout his life. But there's really not a lot that he does personally that really fleshes out who he is. He doesn't really show any moral issues with the Creed or anything like that. He doesn't have the Altair attitude, or Ezio, or Connor, or Edward, or anyone. And so I just found that to be kind of a disappointing factor, because that is something which I really enjoy. In exchange for that, though, we got a lot of character development for Callum Lynch's character, the present day version, which I found to be kind of interesting. A lot of people said that the present day stuff wasn't quite as interesting. I found it to be pretty neat, because we got to see literally what, in my opinion, a realistic person would be thinking and going through if they were actually submitted to the Animus. And Michael Fassbender, like you say, is experiencing the bleeding effect. He's seeing Aguilar in the present day, just covering his present day eyesight, because he can't really, his brain can't differentiate between the two for a moment. And he thinks he's going crazy because he's actually having fights with his ghost ancestor. And it's just kind of an interesting thing. And that's why I thought that the character had a lot of development to them. And it was probably one of my favorite aspects of the film. There's also very little fan service in this film, which kind of disappointed me. I was hoping for at least some name drops to at least Desmond Miles or to any of the assassins that we played as in the past games. But there's nothing that I caught, at least. We have Abstergo, we have kind of the Leap of Faith, we have Bleeding Effect, but those are just kind of terms which are thrown out there, which is just kind of a general thing which you know, and if you don't know, you're going to know by the end of the film. They don't really name drop any of the assassins that we played as, which I think would have been a really cool thing to do and connected the film more firmly to the games, because it really does feel like its own separate entity, and I didn't really see any firm connective tissue to the titles themselves. I did like the ending though. Leading into the third act, it was very exciting, very interesting, and I really liked how it ended up progressing as a result. And it does set up a sequel to a degree. Whether or not it gets one, I have no idea. I'm not really expecting one due to how much money it's not making. But we'll see. I enjoyed this movie for what it was. Yes, it could have used a lot more character development with the assassin character, but I thought that Michael Fassbender did enough with the character to keep me interested and just curious to see where this film was going to go and what was going to separate it from the games themselves. So guys, if you are a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise, I'd say check this thing out. I think it's worth your time and an interesting installment into the franchise itself. Whether or not it will actually come into play in the games to some degree, I have yet to see. We won't know until the next one comes out. I did enjoy it for what it was. Spain looked fantastic in this new atmosphere, and I thought the choreography was really, really cool and neat to see. But guys, those are my thoughts on Assassin's Creed. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.